Thank you. Welcome everyone, virtually and in person, to the Thursday, November 21st regular board agenda for the Pottstown School Board of Directors. I would like to call the meeting to open. Could I have a roll call, please?
Armada. Bearden. Here. Title.
Here.
Hilton. Kancianic. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Lawrence.
Here.
Spence.
Present.
8 present, 1 absent. We have a quorum.
Have a moment of silence, please. And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving right along, presentations, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. I'm coming down here this time so that there's not a long delay when I give out this recognition. So I am going to read to you a letter that I put together for one of our 9th grade students, Felicia Fry. As I'm reading, you can look upon a video of what it is we are talking about, so you can visualize appropriately. So to Felicia, we want to thank you for completing the Buddy Bench projects in the Pottstown School District as a part of your Girl Scout Silver Award. Did I get that right? Okay. Just making sure. Students now have the opportunity to sit in a more welcoming environment, and your Buddy Benches reinforce our belief that the relationships students create in Pottstown School District are pivotal to the overall positive education they receive. Pottstown School District's mission is to prepare each student by name for success at every level. Part of that success is social. When students have the opportunity to sit, relax, watch other activities, or just spend time with friends, they fulfill part of our mission. The principals of these elementary schools have provided positive feedback on the impact of these Buddy Benches. And on behalf of the entire district, I would like to thank you for your contribution to our schools. We recognize both your hard work and your dedication, and we thank you. Yes, you can. This is your recognition of all your done, and this is the letter that goes with it. All you gotta do is hold like so. And, oh, here, why don't we get that from?
Thank you.
Okay, and you're gonna look right, oh, apparently we're gonna follow directions here. Move this out of the way. Ready? Yes. Good. All right. Just look at that top.
Wow.
Come on, just try. Look at it.
Where?
Look, right there.
Who's the only one that can?
Good. And it is the Pottstown School District tradition to make sure that you don't walk away empty-handed, so that you have the ability to celebrate. We give you blue and white cupcakes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We got it. Bio. Bio better.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Rodriguez. Moving on to minutes, Mrs. Oakley, please.
Madam President, I would like to present the minutes from the regular board meeting held on October 17th, 2024.
Thank you. Mrs. Johnson, list of bills and treasurer's report.
Madam President, I would like to submit the list of bills for the period of October 2024 and the treasurer's report in the same period as presented.
Thank you. Moving into committee reports. We start with policy and personnel. Mr. Klein, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Our Policy Personnel Committee met on November the 7th. We started off with a video, a career video that's on our website, that if you have a few minutes, it's worth watching. We then discussed 7 policies, moved them all forward to tonight's meeting. 4 different personnel recommendations, moved those all forward for tonight's meeting. They're on the agenda if you're curious. Our next meeting is going to be December 5th.
Thank you, sir. Moving into curriculum and co-curricular, Mrs. Lawrence, please.
Yes, we don't have anything we're voting on, I don't believe tonight, but we have a lot of informational items. We had a video with the Children's Discovery Center, which is really cool. I don't know if that's on the website, but it probably should be, so it's a hint to whoever does that. We had a little bit of a. Said that his video was on, All right, what, all right, anyway. I wasn't naming names.
No,
I'm John. We also had a special education update from Mr. Jeffries, talking about some of the state's systemic improvement plan, and how we've had higher graduation rates over the last year, and he updated us a little bit on Edgewood. Mr. Otzenford updated us a little bit more on the comprehensive plan and some of the things we have to do on a yearly basis, just reminding us of those. Also, a new course is going to be looked at for changing the intro to engineering to a grant-based new drone course. So we'll hear more about that, I guess, as we go. We also got some of our grant back from the Century 21. Yeah, 21st Century cohort grant. We got some of that back thanks to the efforts of Mr. Rodriguez. And I think that's pretty much it. We did, yes, we were going to see the Montreux 360 video, but we'll see that at our next meeting. And that will be December 5th.
Thank you very much. Moving to Mr. Hilton for facilities and finance.
Bruce Chrisman from AI Architects gave a PowerPoint presentation about his facility study ongoing, focusing mostly on Edgewood and the administration building, about possible uses and changes that are needed. Mr. Willauer gave us an update on the middle school and Edgewood playground, still working with the borough, and we get their approval for them. We have a chiller bid award to make tonight for the middle school. Mr. Willauer also showed some photos of the weight room in the high school before and after. An update on the tree project. We have, as of Saturday, we'll have planted 176 trees. There were 3 demonstration projects with students, one at Barth, one at Lincoln, and today, this morning, one at Franklin. So students got to understand about how trees live, and they did a little planting. And then ELA, there's a report saying that there is no report, that they're still looking into various aspects. And then Mrs. Oakley, which has a resolution for us tonight, which we always pass. Or is it in December we're gonna pass this?
We'll pass it tonight.
Tonight, this is just saying we're not gonna raise taxes above the index. Chances are we're not gonna raise taxes at all. And then we're going to appoint Mrs. Oakley a substitute tax collector. And then there is a parent and family engagement, which will be discussed at the policy committee meeting on December 5th.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Johnson for public relations, community engagement, and Montgomery County Legislature.
Thank you. We had our public relations and community engagement meeting right after the finance and facilities meeting. To start with, Mrs. Oakley presented a slide deck on charter costs, including our overall increase right now, the district is spending about 5.8 million a year on cyber charter and charter schools. And shared some of the tuition amounts and other increases. Currently, regular ed tuition is almost $12,000 per student, and special ed is between 27 and 34,500 per student. So we just discussed those costs, potential funding reform, and the general hope that at least it would be really nice if the money that we sent to charters and cyber charters in particular would have to be spent on student education rather than some of the other things it gets spent on. So that is an advocacy point going forward, and has already been. We also talked and we showed some pictures from the trunk or treats that had been in the schools, particularly the elementary schools, the middle school pep rally, and the Veterans Day video that Mr. Rodriguez had done with Mr. Novak, all of which were really, really good community engagement pieces that touched on different areas in different schools. I always do love seeing the pictures. So, and then Mr. Rodriguez gave a few remarks via a video talking about virtual days now and the snow days, virtual days, and what we do with that as of now and how that process works. Parent-teacher conferences were successful, and noted that there's a note on here about the black and white aerial photo of Pottstown in the 1920s, which was a very cool photo that was showcased in that video. FAC gave an update talking about their process right now of doing event and meeting, and how that's going, which sounds like it's going really well. And our next meeting is December 5th. And then County Legislative Committee. We had that meeting on November 13th. That meeting was on Zoom this time. We kind of debriefed from the election, specifically from the state level, which at the state, the makeup of the House and the state Senate are the same as they were before the election. So that kind of keeps things the same as it relates to advocacy and legislative outreach. And we talked about the importance of building relationships with our state lawmakers, and being really just clear in our communications about how the increase in fair funding that we've gotten so far is helping our student outcomes. Another thing of note, I just wanted to say, there are possible changes coming to E-rate, depending on what the Supreme Court decides about how that is funded, because that funding is potentially in jeopardy. Our legislative breakfast is scheduled for April 25th. Everybody is always invited, and there will be a press conference immediately after. And that's it.
Thank you so much. Moving right along, PSBA representative, Ms. Canziani, please.
Yes, the delegate assembly was held on November 2nd. It was a hybrid format with some of us on Zoom and some in person. There was a little bit of debate on the voting procedures because we couldn't really tell how many people were in the room versus how many people were online. Eventually, the new legislative platform was adopted. You can read the whole entire platform on the My PSBA portal. But the usual hot topics were debated immensely. Mandate relief, mental and emotional health assistance for the students, and charter school reform. In January, it is School Director Recognition Month, which PSBA suggests is the perfect time to readapt the principles of governance and leadership. In February, PSBA will be offering an interactive event called Building Stronger School Communities Through Civil Discourse. That will be in person at PSBA headquarters, and you can register for that on the portal. It is not free, however. They are offering free web series, and one that I felt was interesting is called Intersections, Racism, Protest in Schools, and Understanding the Board's Role. That's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mrs. Lawrence, NCIU, please.
Yeah, we didn't meet in October, but we did meet last night. Our November meeting was early, so we covered lots of different things. A couple things that are important. One of them was regarding the E-rate, talking about how that fund, it's the Universal Service Fund, I guess, that may not be funded, which means that we would lose that. Also, in terms of funding, there was an update that the state hasn't really given all the money for the early intervention program. It's been held up and they keep saying it's coming or they'll let them know. So it was recommended that people reach out to different people in the state because they said, the thought is that they don't really understand what early intervention is and does, that it's different from PK counts and Head Start. And then, the other thing is just coming up in February on the 4th to the 7th, PD's having their annual conference at our battalion, and that registration is open if anyone's interested in any of those, because we approved a lot of the different, people who'll be doing presentations. So we don't meet in December, so that's it for now.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to our student board reps, we have Imani and Elias.
To start off, at the high school, we hosted our first PBIS flag football, type of game. It gave students, an award for outstanding behavior. This encouraged students to have the grades up and behavior went down in our school. And it gave time to be with friends at the event. And then it also gave time for students to be on their electronics at the, event as well. Next thing I have on our list is, we had our first quarterly PBIS shoe shopping trip with Dr. D at the outlets. Same type of thing, students had good behavior, kept the grades up and everything. And then next thing I have on here is the ASVAB testing. All juniors were required to take the ASVAB test. It was reviewed, I believe, 2 weeks ago, with military members. And then if they tested in the passing bracket, then they were eligible to use it as a test score for graduation requirement to pass that. Okay. And then the next thing I also have is HOSA went to Rupert Elementary for hand washing. There they taught the pre-K and the kindergarten students how to properly wash your hands. Next thing I also have is Skills USA. The officers went to their first leadership conference of the year in Gettysburg as well. The next thing I also have is National Honor Society inducted 18 new inducted students. And then as of yesterday, DECA had their induction for 24 inducted students as well. And then the last thing I have that did not happen yet, all board members are invited to the holiday band and choir concert December 11th at 7. Okay. Then the next thing I have for the middle school, we have field trips. Students have participated in enriching trips to the Challenger mission and Bird's Nest for hands-on learning. The next thing I have for environmental collaboration, North Bay educators have continued environmental education with 7th graders, focusing on planting milkweed seeds and this spring to support local ecosystems then. Next thing I also have for community engagement, they hosted several activity nights to foster a caring school community and strengthening family connections. And the next thing I have is academic progress in your benchmarking system. Ongoing assessments give teachers actionable data to tailor instruction, supporting individualism, student preparation, and then the last thing was parent-teacher conferences, conducting conferences to enhance students' progress, transparency, and family involvement.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the elementary. So for Franklin, they had their spirit days due November and December, so I'm guessing it was like probably like festive, they didn't give me the names, but they also had their tree planting ceremony on the 21st of November. And then on the 10th of December, they're gonna have their winter concert at 1:45 and then another one at 6:30. For Rupert, on the 22nd of November, they had their first grade fall family activity. On the 26th, they had their Rupert Rockstar Assembly. Coming up December 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they're having their Friends of Rupert Holiday Shop. And then on the 6th, the 3rd grade is gonna be taking a trip to the Clearwood Factory. Well, that sounds fun. Okay. On the 12th of December, they have their holiday concert. On the 13th, they have their pre-K fall family engagement. On the 17th, they're having their evening holiday concert. And on the 19th, they're having another Rupert Rockstar Assembly. for bars. Bars had their Bars Best, their Quality Club, their Title I parent meeting, their winter concert, Molly Mae's milkshake author reading, and they write that to the secondary students. And then lastly, for Lincoln, on the 5th of November, they had their Too Good for Drugs, starting with their 3rd grade classes. On the 13th, they had their tree planting project with safety patrols. On the 15th, they had their 2nd grade fall family engagement activity, bar bingo. On the 25th, they had their kindergarten Thanksgiving feast. On the 13th, coming up in December, they're gonna have their kindergarten Polar Express event. And on the 16th, they're gonna have their winter chorus concert, one at 1:30 and then one also at 6 p.m. And that concludes our report for today.
Excellent. Thank you very much. A lot of good stuff there. My favorite was going into, we got a little bit of money. We got a little bit of money. We got to go into the holiday store and buy stuff for our family members. Did anyone else? Okay, I'm aging myself. I just thought I said something that triggered that. So I'll move into the report of the superintendent, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. On the agenda for your review are consent items from 9 to 17 as presented for board consideration. As usual, we'll do this in a tag team variety show, starting with Mr. Boyer covering personnel, etc.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Good evening, school board members. For 9.1 resignations and terminations, we have 4 professional, 1 exempt, and 2 classified. 10.1 leaves, we have 3 professional leaves and 1 exempt leave. 11.1 change in position, salary, we have 4 professional and 1 classified. 12.1 elections, we have 4 professional elections, 2 classified, and you'll see our after-school academic program, where we have 6 teachers and 5 assistants and 1 coordinator. And 13.1 professional leaves, we have 2 of those. And you'll see in items 14.1 through 14.4, Title IX related policies for your approval. That will be policy 103, 103.1, 103.2, and 104. 14.5 is policy 214 class rank for your approval. 14.6, policy 218 student discipline for your approval. 14.7, policy 218.1 weapons. That would conclude my.
Just to clarify, we're on 14, so you were 1 ahead.
Oh.
So it's good, you really started with 8 because we
Yeah.
made adjustments. You had, so I'm on item 14, which is the bid award for the middle school killer.
Not your fault.
Yeah.
We canceled
Yeah.
one of the items.
As you were
on the
reading
agenda.
them out, I just didn't, in case anybody was misplaced on their paper, I wanted to just clarify that. So item.
Later.
Item 14 is the middle school chiller bid award to Gem Mechanical in the amount of $879,800. And then the resolution to limit the property tax for the 25-26 budget at the 5.8 adjusted index. And lastly, number 16, the substitute tax collector appointment, which appoints myself for the 2025 calendar year as substitute tax collector. And that concludes the consent items, Madam President.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone signed in from the hearings for patrons virtually? Anyone signed in person? I don't have anybody signed in, but I'm not sure.
Are you guys looking to address the board?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to do it for the kids too, or just me?
I don't know, whatever you guys are planning, you can, you just need to, well, they'll give you instructions.
So just in the interim, since we have hearings from the patrons signed in, I'd like to remind everyone that it is an opportunity for residents or taxpayers to address the board. Please refrain from addressing any individual board members, and please remember that the board will not respond to any questions posed this evening, but rather will have the administration gather the necessary information to respond to your question and forward a response to your attention as needed. Please make sure that you provide us with your full name and address prior to addressing the board. And presenters, I ask that you please be as brief as possible and limit your oral presentation to no more than 3 minutes. So if we want to get started.
Sorry.
No problem.
All right, so I'm going to present this as my,
Can you give your name?
oh, sorry. So my name is Kirsten Cruz. I am the head soccer coach for the girls soccer team at Pottstown at the middle school. I'm going to read this on behalf of my assistant coach who couldn't make it today as well. So this is a letter from myself, him, and then some of the girls that also could not attend today. So, dear Pottstown School Board and community leaders, we hope this letter finds you well. As passionate middle school coaches and soccer players, we want to share our thoughts on a potential investment in a turf field for our local sports teams and programs. We believe that this enhancement would greatly benefit our community, our schools, and young athletes. Below, we have described our reasoning as a team to why we think a turf field would be beneficial. Number one would be improved playing conditions. A turf field provides a consistent playing surface, which means fewer cancellations due to weather. Rain or muddy conditions often leave our current fields unplayable, disrupting our practice and game schedules. A turf field ensures we can train and compete regardless of the weather, helping us improve our skills consistently. Number two, enhanced safety. Turf fields have certain designs that improve the safety for the athletes. The surface will be level with no divots, holes, and other potential environmental factors. You also do not have to worry about maintaining the length of the grass, which can also be a safety risk. A lot of us as current soccer players playing on our outdoor fields have greatly been impacted by ankle injuries this year that were caused from playing on our uneven surface fields. Number three, year-round usability. A turf field can be used for various sports and community events throughout the year. Whether it's soccer, football, lacrosse, school pep rallies, or even community gatherings, a well-maintained turf field can accommodate many activities, promoting a healthy, active lifestyle within our community. Number four, lower maintenance costs. While the initial investment in turf field may seem high, the long-term savings are significant. Turf fields require less maintenance than grass fields, eliminating the need for frequent mowing, watering, reseeding, and constantly having to have our field lines repainted every couple of days to weeks. These savings could be redirected to other important programs and initiatives in our state. Number five, fostering community pride. New turf fields can serve as a central hub for our community, bringing people together to support local teams and events. It fosters a sense of pride in our community and encourages more families to participate in local sports and activities. Growing up, a lot of us couldn't play soccer earlier than middle school due to the fact that we did not have a home field. In order to create a youth soccer team, Sure, there are local teams we could have joined, but they're either too expensive or too far away. Having turf fields at our school is very close to where most of us live and is very accessible for us to get to. The development of turf fields would allow us to then be the home facility to create and bring back a youth soccer program. So other young athletes like myself and then themselves do not have to wait until middle school to start learning like we did. And I also would be beneficial for me as a coach where I don't have to wait until they're at middle school level, where they have to compete against other schools who have also been going on already since they were like 5. So when it comes to competing against other teams in the pack, we're a significant disadvantage because other schools have youth and club teams to play at for an earlier age and grow in the sport, and we do not. And the last one would be attracting events and opportunities. With turf fields, Pottstown can host tournaments, games, and events that draw visitors from outside of our community. This can provide economic benefits to local businesses as families come to town for games, stay in possible hotels, eat at our local restaurants on High Street. This will put Pottstown more on the map. We truly believe that investing in the turf field is an investment in the future of our athletes and our community. It offers countless benefits that extend beyond just soccer, impacting everyone in Pottstown. We ask for your support in making this vision a reality. Thank you for considering our request. As coaches of the middle school girls soccer team, we hope to see Pottstown lead the way in providing top-notch facilities for our young athletes. Sincerely, the middle school girls soccer players and coaches of Pottstown.
Thank you.
Coach, may we ask if
you can just provide that letter so that I don't have to recopy it. Would you give it to that handsome man in the blue shirt there? That's Mr. Kalis. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Next. Any students?
Hi, my name is Kimberly Cher, and I am, or was a player for the middle school girls soccer team. And I think it would be a great investment for the school district to get turf field. But first off, a disadvantage that our regular soccer fields have is the uneven surface, which has caused a few incidents or injuries, which I myself and my other teammates have gotten. Like my first scrimmage, I fell in front of everybody on my first game. Not fun. So another disadvantage is that when it rains, the field gets very muddy, which can cause canceled games or very slippery fields, which can also be a disadvantage. And it also makes it very hard to catch the ball, especially if you were a goalkeeper like I was this year. And in the golf field, once it rained, they would try to soak it up with rocks, which was very painful. Because once you dive to get the ball, the rocks like stab you kind of. Sorry. But that would have happened with turf fields, because unlike grassy fields that become muddy and hard to play on after the rain, turf fields can withstand heavy use and maintain its quality, which it would encourage more frequent practices and more games that wouldn't have to be canceled due to wet field. But not only would it create a more vibrant environment for the Pottstown School District, it would also make it easier to start more youth programs like PAL that would help encourage younger kids to become better at the sport. So when they get to seventh grade, they will be less new to the environment and less new to the sport. Because out of the pack that the district plays, Pottstown is one of the only towns that doesn't have a youth program. Which makes it harder for varsity teams who have about 10 years of experience, while some of us have 1 or 2 years of experience. So by investing in turf fields, not only would you be improving our athletic program, but you could help start more athletic programs to help kids that want to start playing. And with that, you would make it more enjoyable to all the players and coaches. That is why I can really try and think we as a district should have turf fields. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Kimberly.
Dear board directors, my name is Vanya Eitlico and I am on the Pottstown Middle School Girls Soccer Team.
I'm sorry, could you say your name a little louder?
Vanya Eitlico,
Thank you.
and I'm on the Pottstown Middle School Girls Soccer Team. I strongly believe that we should have turf fields because they have many benefits. For instance, our current fields are really uneven and have many holes, which cause many of my teammates to fall and get injured, including myself. Turf fields would help make our fields even, which would decrease our risks of falling and getting injured. Another reason we should get turf fields is because after it rains, our fields get really muddy and sometimes we don't even have grass to play on. If we had turf fields, we would not have to play in the mud, which would reduce our risk of sliding or falling. My final reason is because I would have loved if Pottstown had a youth program so that I could have started playing soccer earlier. And I think that if we had turf fields, we could start youth soccer clubs and have them at the turf fields. Thank you for listening to why I believe we should have turf fields.
Thank you. Next, anyone?
I'm Ebony Brown. I'm speaking on behalf of our coach, Kate Ronzon, because she unfortunately does not reside in our school district, like in Pottstown PA, so I'll be reading on her behalf. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone, board members of Pottstown School District. Before I begin, I want to thank you for your time listening to myself, the athletes, the parents, and anyone else from the community who is here tonight to express their thoughts. As the varsity field hockey coach at Pottstown, I would like to take this time to share some perspectives for you to consider when making a decision about the possibility of turf fields. I want to keep this brief, and there are some key points that I would like to bring up as an athletics coach. Obviously, one of the key components is field adequacy and the ability to give our players the opportunity to grow and develop their skills. In other sports, grass versus turf doesn't affect the game as much as it does for field hockey. And in the sport of field hockey, it makes a noticeable and distinct difference ability to prove your skills and what skills you're able to do. You can't utilize the same techniques on both surfaces. Athletes cannot do the same skills on grass fields and that players are capable of on turf fields. When we have our first couple of games on turf and our athletes are struggling to figure out the speed of the ball, they're struggling to figure out how to pass the ball without expecting it to bounce over grass spots. And it may sound minor, but the infield hockey, but this affects the entire game. I also want to bring attention to the board, the confidence of and the social emotional wellness of our athletes. This year, when teams come to our field, I often heard, well, I see Pottstown hasn't changed anything yet. Coaches often ask, how are you guys usually practice on here? And asking it as a genuine question rather than an insult, because other coaches see what an impact the grass field has on the gameplay. So let's take away the skills piece. Let's take away the piece where we're trying to we're trying to help competitive athletes aspire to be the best that they can be. And let's, for 1 second, forget we are a district trying to grow competitive programs. Let's set aside and let's think about the social emotional wellness of a young athlete. Imagine how you would feel if when another team showed up, they laughed at your field. Imagine how it would feel when walking onto another school's field and hearing them make comments about how you don't know how to play on turf. Imagine being one of the field hockey players who come to every practice, give it everything you had, made significant improvement, but still can't match up with the other teams on turf fields. That destroys the confidence of our athletes. Other sports, turf versus grass may not matter as much, but in today's field hockey, it completely changes the game. I had students personally tell me that they're embarrassed to have other schools come to this field, not because they're embarrassed to be at Pottstown, not because they're embarrassed to be a Pottstown student athlete, but because they know the conditions of the field is holding back our program. So as I said, I'm going to keep this short and greatly appreciate your time. But as you move forward in your decision, I really hope that you keep these two perspectives in mind. I can speak significantly to field hockey, but I am a supporter of physical activity, student engagement, and creating environments where all young people can build their confidence and gain skills for success in any lifestyle they choose. And for those are things you're trying to improve in your community and you're trying to increase the competitive level of your view programs. I think turf is a necessity.
Thank you, Ebony. On behalf of the coach as well. Anyone else? And for adults, just a reminder to please state your name and your address.
Yes, so my name is Tiffany Hall. I live at 65 North Hanover Street. I've graduated 3 kids already from Pottstown, and I have 2 more coming up in the ranks, 1 in middle school and 1 in high school. So here's my piece. I'm not here tonight to convince you of the importance of athletics in our schools. You know the statistics. You've read the research on the value sports bring, increased academic performance, school ranking, and the impact on students' mental and physical health. The last 5 years have seen high school sports participation fall to record lows nationally. So tonight I'm here to speak on how we support the growth of athletics in Pottstown. It's no secret that many of our teams struggle to be competitive. While we continue to work on improving student participation, we need to consider a key factor, winnability. What tools can we give the teams and coaches to drive success and increase student interest? The bottom line, what makes kids want to play? A myriad of reasons, but a large driving factor can be seen with the boys basketball team. After Coach Ivory led the team to a breakout season last year, players are now more excited than ever, so much so that the program requires tryouts at 9th grade, JV, and varsity. That's unheard of for Pottstown sports in recent years. And that's testament to what a winning season does for re-engagement. So how do we support a winning season? We have a great football stadium, and the courts are just beautifully resurfaced for basketball. Now we need to consider how we equip sports like soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey for success. Playing surface has a significant impact on injury rates, ball behavior, and even athletic endurance. The right surface allows for consistency and predictability in play. Turf fields allow for increased playability since they're more durable. The addition of a turf field, particularly where there are lights already existing, would allow for a tremendous increase of playing time and the added benefit of hosting home games later in the evening.
Turf allows for playing time in inclement weather or immediately thereafter, as opposed to game cancellations for poor field conditions. That durability also directly correlates to player safety. Quick directional changes on grass are risky. Along with uneven surfaces, it allows for injuries for these fast-paced sports. And there's numerous studies I could cite that show the turf field soften impact, resulting in fewer injuries for players. The financial aspect of turf is that long-term maintenance costs are much lower over time when compared with the continual upfront variable cost investment that natural fields undergo. Watering, seedings, weekly cuttings, upkeep, pesticide, fertilization, operational upkeep is substantially higher for grass fields. I can speak personally, having a field hockey player. Every other team we play has turf, with the exception of one, and that school is already looking to make the switch. Our field is not properly maintained. More often than not, the grass is too high. The ball will disappear in a divot mid-game. Turf allows for a truer, more predictable ball roll, less effort to move the ball, and handle on grass or a pass. Our girls consistently over or undershoot at away games because they get zero time on turf outside of games to understand the major impact it has on ball behaviors. Our girls already fight against the stigma of being the worst team with horrible playing fields, and that's a substantial weight on their shoulders going into games. But I know that Coach Kate knows that they can win once the playing field is level for them, literally. This field will not only impact performance, but it will also impact the girls' mental game. I'll end with this. We finally have the right coach. We have the right players. We went from 2 goals for the entirety of last season to over 20 this season. The progress is there. We need to give them the tools to succeed against their competition. One turf field under the lights in place will significantly impact future seasons. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hall. Anyone else? No? Okay, just to check, to see if we have anyone signed in virtually.
Not at this time, Madam President.
Thank you so much. Board will move into board action for the minutes list of bills and treasurer's report. Does anyone require any communication on those items? No? Okay, so I'd like a motion to accept the board minutes list of bills and treasurer's report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now I'll ask for board consent on all consent items. They would be 8 through 16. Do we require any communication about any of these consent items? No? Okay. So I'll ask for a motion to accept all consent items listed 8 through 16.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Klein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Kancianic. Aye. Spence,
Yes.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bearden.
Aye.
Armato.
Aye.
Heidel.
Aye.
Hilton.
Aye.
9 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you. And just for those who are here, we are not making any action on that tonight, but we are happy to see that you came out and are advocating for your rights to have a different field that you believe will better suit the teams. But I just wanted to make sure you know we are not actually taking action on that. But you're welcome to continue to come out, watch on Zoom or come in person. We love seeing your faces in person, but we are not voting on anything tonight, but we are taking your information into consideration.
And say something.
Absolutely.
For those of you who spoke, if you would please just sign in, because there's, I always communicate as our board president indicated. I'll never be able to find you unless you spell your name for me. Thank you.
Thank you. For board, we are moving into new information, and we will have an aerial photo and presentation by Mr. Hilton.
Well, we will if we can get the aerial photo up on the screen.
Fingers crossed. In the interim, I'll just mention, we will have our 2024 board reorganization meeting on December the 5th at 6:30 p.m. It will be a combination meeting. We will have our committee meetings, we will have our board reorg, our committee meetings, and we will take any actions and vote. We will combine our December meetings, so we are here for one meeting. Hopefully that will help with family time, and we seem to have light agendas per the chairs, so we should be able to make this a go and it be an efficient.
So
day.
question about that.
Yes,
So there's only one meeting,
in
no
December.
other meeting. Okay.
Correct. The agendas were light, just didn't make sense to do board reorg, be there for 5 to 10 minutes and then come back for the rest of the month. So it's just more efficient for everyone's use of
So
time.
when is the board meeting?
It will be that night, Thursday.
After which, the end of all committee meetings?
Correct. That way, if there's anything that we have to communicate about, we could communicate it about it and then actually do the vote. But I think,
So do the vote without any research or any looking up anything?
so no, so we checked in advance with the chairs to see if there was going to be anything that was going to be a heavy agenda, if they had any items that were going to be actionable. If there's any concern, I certainly pose that to the team just to make sure that we wouldn't just be arbitrarily moving the dates. But the chairs didn't seem to have anything that was going to be of concern, actually.
In their opinion.
Anything can come up, and hey, if we need to have reschedule and have, it's not locked in stone, if we need to have time to review, that's always a concern. And if we do, then we'll reschedule.
Yeah, he's in the meeting, he's got to share.
Yes.
They're doing stuff.
Yes.
Are we gonna do committee reports then? Since we're doing committee meetings right before that?
Yes.
Do we have to?
I wanna know about your report.
We don't have to, but
But
I,
I mean.
I'm pretty
Yeah, but it makes
consistent.
sense.
I'm pretty consistent because it goes into the minutes, right? So,
Yeah,
You
okay.
can do it
Great.
all.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
all right.
Okay, so I promised Mrs. Beard and I wouldn't be going over 45 minutes. Wasn't that?
That's right. Thank you.
I'll start my time.
So this is a photo from August of 1926, which Todd Bainbridge made me aware was available. I got it from the Hagley Museum in Delaware. And what's really nice about it is it's a very high resolution photo. And I think there's much to be learned from the way we used to do things in Potsdam. So I will orient you here. This is the Schuylkill River. This doesn't exactly match up as I'm reading my maps, but you can see the Schuylkill. And here is, work better this afternoon. Here's Hanover Street Bridge, High and Hanover Street. Now we're coming down High Street, we're going west over the Manatee. There is no Memorial Park. However, there is Pottsgrove Manor, that's still there. There's no Route 100. And this building here is the Eastern Steel Company. That's their blast furnaces, and those great big white things you see there are slag heaps. Create slag and making steel, and they dumped it there. So that's now under trees on the Potsdam side and on the North Coventry side. And then moving down here, there's none of the houses west of what's now Route 100. This was the fairgrounds, which is now mostly Walmart shopping center. And moving over here, there's no Penn Village, there's no Bright Hope, there's no Barth Elementary School. As we come up here, this is the general area of Lincoln Elementary School, which does not exist. And the whole area where Mrs. Lawrence and Mrs. Johnson lived, that was not developed. That was fields. And we move up here, there was no Franklin School. In fact, the area where Franklin is was not even in Potsdam in 1926. That was in Upper and Lower Pottsgrove. We annexed that in 1930. So, and then over here, there's a reservoir. Today, there's two great big green reservoirs, top of Chicken Hill, next to the Second Baptist Church. And this is Franklin Fields, which are still around, which the school district was running, but no buildings there, no middle school, no high school. And then here, if I make this a little bigger, here is what is now Jefferson School Apartments. In 1926, they had just built it and they called it the new school. They didn't even give it a name then. And then moving down here, here's the Hill School. And here's Edgewood Cemetery. There's no Edgewood School. And there are a few houses along Pine Street. There's no Rosedale, except for Rosedale Drive. These houses were built first. And then as we go south of High Street, there's no Rupert School. And this area is undeveloped. West of Moser Road. That was annexed later on. And then down here is Bethlehem Steel and Dana. Those buildings are still around. And these houses are still intact, but here is now the Hanover Court townhouses. This was a steel making factories. Then they were torn down from Mrs. Smith's Pie Company, and then that was torn down as well. So as we cross High Street, and this is where all the stores were on High Street when we had stores. We come up to a big white building, which was Pottstown High School. That was just completed in 1926. When this photo was taken, it was brand new. And you'll see there's no parking lots around it, no fields around it. And then behind it, you can't see because of the trees, was the Washington Elementary School, which no longer exists. That was where the parking lot is, right outside the doors here of the administration building. And then more trees along Beach Street, that was Pottstown Junior High School. So we had the high school, the elementary school, and junior high school all in one place, no parking lots, no fields. In those days, they built everything very close to each other and expected people to walk. I suspect you'll be surprised to know how many elementary schools we had in Pottstown in 1926. We had almost the same population we have today. We had 20,000 people, but living on a smaller area. We had 15 elementary schools in Pottstown. 15, and most of them were a classroom on the first floor and a classroom on the second floor and stairs. Some of those buildings are still around. And they were scattered all over town. That's what you would really call neighborhood elementary schools.
Remember those?
So, interesting to me to look at this and see we had the same population almost that we had today, and we had no parking lots, none, anywhere. Because the paradigm then was people walked where they needed to go. And now, of course, we, over the next 2 decades, 26, 36, 46, everybody got a car, everybody started driving, we started tearing down buildings all over for parking lots, and now 15% of Pottstown consists of parking lots and 9% roads. So a quarter of the total land area of Pottstown is reserved for cars and parking lots. And the school district, we do our part. We have 725 parking spaces along all our schools. And the playing fields were where they are today, Franklin Fields. The expectation was that we'd walk up there. And you would think, well, why wouldn't you put the school up there where the fields were? And it's just not the way. We were a walking community, and you could walk up to play to the fields. And later on, the middle school was built there. So I thought you'd be interested to see all the changes that we've seen, the things that are the same and not, and to say we're much better off in many ways, but not in all ways. Obesity has tripled since 1960. Just a study reported in the New York Times last week, 3/4 of all adults are overweight or obese. because nobody walks anywhere. So that's what I wanted to point out to you yesterday and today.
Where was the hospital? Did we have one?
The hospital, was on High Street. The building's still there. It's now 1200 High Street is
Brown
the,
building?
yeah, it started off, it was a big house. And then they built offices around it. So we had Medical Center East on High Street and Medical Center North, which is now the nursing home on North Charlotte Street, just past Grace Lutheran Church. That was there, but it was not obviously the building that's 6 stories tall. There was a little building since torn down. So we had 2 small hospitals in 1926.
You know what we don't see there? Nuclear power plants.
Well, definitely not here. Nuclear power plant,
Right?
even when I got here, we didn't have a nuclear power plant. So that would be, this is High Street, this is Saratoga right here. I can get this thing to move. This is Saratoga, so the nuclear power plant would be off around here.
Did the black kids go to all 15 schools?
No.
Well, whatever school was in their neighborhood, they went to. So if we. If I get here.
Well, wouldn't their neighborhood be
Segregated back
Pottstown?
then.
Well, there were primarily 2 black neighborhoods. Remember, there was no Penn Village. So
Penn
here, if I can find
So that's where
Jefferson.
black people lived.
Not bad.
Okay, so here was what they called a new school. I'm having trouble with this. Okay, this is what is now Jefferson School Apartments. And this is Chicken Hill. And this is the original reservoir. And this is where Second Baptist Church would be. So if you lived in this neighborhood, starting when the new school was built, you would go there. And there were also 2 very small schools on North Washington Street, one of which is torn down and one of which is still there. And there were 2 classrooms, one in the first and one in the second. Then the other black neighborhood, which was Urban Renewal, which was torn down before I got to Pottstown. This happened in the 60s. What we know now is Industrial Highway was not there. And it was called Water Street, and these houses, these were also the black neighborhood. And if you go to, this is the Meyerhoff Shirt Factory, turned into apartments now, that building's still there. You go a block away, there's a little park, and Cherry and Evans. And that little park had 2 elementary schools. There were both 2 classrooms each, one in the first and one in the second. And I would imagine, because that would be the closest elementary school to them, that's where they would have gone to elementary school. But we were never, as a district, we never had any segregation. I mean, that goes back to the beginning of time for us. You walk to the nearest school.
I don't know.
That'd be a good,
It was.
My mom is here, she did not
De
feel like it was
facto,
not
because
segregated.
it was that way.
well, it was segregation based on where you live.
Right, that's what
But
I
it
mean.
wasn't
Okay, but it's
segregation
still-
based on.
Right, but I mean, I know it, because it was like that when I went to elementary school here. I went to Lincoln and it was segregated, but not on purpose. I mean, it wasn't.
Not on
purpose.
No.
You know what I mean? It just-
Continue with the meeting, please.
It was,
Mean to do it.
no, but it was, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that presentation, Mr. Hilton. That was very informational. Anyone have any additional questions for Mr. Hilton?
That was very interesting.
Moving Mike along, Mrs. Oakley?
Yes, the monthly meeting notice is attached.
Thank you.
So I'll just give you one.
Thank you. And we'll have Mr. Rodriguez with Federation remarks.
Members of the board, the Federation asked me to send on their regards due to a personal situation. Their normal representative could not be here. However, I was asked to invite you. to their annual holiday celebration. I think many of you know that is the party of the year, so to speak, in terms of Federation activities. It is Friday, the 13th. Don't read into the date. Friday, December 13th. At 3 p.m. and it is at a local facility, just where it was last year. If you were able to attend, Manatawny still works up on Circle of Progress, and you are all cordially invited to. It starts at 3. You can pop in or out, and I believe they go until the last person leaves. So please feel free, and that invitation is from Federation leadership. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Moving to roundtable, please. We will start with Ms. Spence, please.
Sure, I had one of the best days of my life, if we're talking about community, which is the new rule. It's closer to home this time and not in the broader community, but, my sister died about 18 years ago, and I made a promise to her, that I would take care of our mom and her daughter. And her daughter is living fabulously with autism. And my mom became the guardian when my sister died, and she's an adult now, and my mom died last year. So I became her guardian. And when I made that promise almost 18 years ago, it was the hardest thing that I ever did. And I didn't think at some point I would be able to fulfill that promise. It's really hard taking care of an adult with special needs. And to all the parents out here in this district that has children that are special needs, right? It doesn't end when they turn 18 or 21 when they leave the school district, or even if they extend it to 23, they're gonna be different all their life. And they're gonna need assistance because the world does not embrace them or accept them. They brutalize them. My niece was assaulted in the worst possible way a woman can ever be assaulted. And that nearly broke my family. And a lot of things happened in my family, but that just, it just was unbelievable. But the good news is today she was admitted into an independent living group home. And she's gonna get all those life skills she never got all her life. And she's 43. And for the first time, she has her own home. And she'll have her own bank account and just all the things that adults should have. She's gonna go to school, she's gonna go to college, she's gonna work a part-time job, and she's gonna have transportation. And I'm just like overjoyed because the pressure of making sure she was okay was like a lot on my shoulders. And Pottstown nursing home rehab is where she was transferred to after her assault, and she's been there for a year, and they just been incredible. They were just like amazing. Roxanne, the social worker, Isaiah, Tiana, the community development. I think they partnered with Pottstown. We went to the play last year. They had some other activities, and Pottstown can embrace people when they really want to, and they embraced her as a new member of Pottstown. I would take her to the library, and it would be so much love and kindness for her. That bullying, that teasing, that pressure that people are different get. She didn't feel that here in Pottstown. So I'm really happy today. It doesn't look like it, but I'm tired. But I'm really happy that I did something for community. Even though it was closer to home, it was still for community. So that's mine.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's-
thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My girlfriend, it gives everyone hope. My girlfriend, like you said, it doesn't stop. She's raising special needs, and her son is 36, I believe, with an IQ of somewhere around 2 to 4. And then she has a student in law school and a graduate dual major from Penn State. And he knows what he wants. He just can't communicate it the way, right? But the community does embrace, and the unfortunate of it is that we don't always have the resources, and they seem to be doing away with more resources, some programs. But hopefully we'll have some more advocacy for, you see the programs now, we actually have some programs where they're showing our students with these special disabilities living and enjoying life. So that's encouraging for our parents. So thank you for sharing. That's awesome. Scansionic.
I have one today. I attended the Pottstown Schools Music Association vendor event. It's a lot. It went off without a hitch. It was our third go round, second fall one. I think we're gonna stick to the fall. It was quite nice. The students performed, the vendors love that. It's kind of unique to Pottstown. Not a lot of vendor events have the students actually perform, so you know what you're raising money for. Whatever else was there is gone, so I think I'm done.
Feel free to tap in later, come up with anything. It's too early for a senior moment though, Mrs. Kipsia.
You know, actually, I was tearing up during Deb's. Yeah.
Yep. You can come back. Mr. Heidel?
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. It's gonna be very truncated holiday season. So, yeah, lots of things happening quick.
Mr. Armato?
I'm not sure. I don't want to step on Mr. Rodriguez. So I'm assuming that you're gonna talk about our visit today.
You may talk about whatever you like, and I will obey the rules. The unspoken rules are not actual rules.
Ping pong, whoever wants to.
Talk about putting pressure on it. So a couple things. One, earlier today, did get the opportunity to go to Franklin Elementary School, where our superintendent and Mr. Hilton were observing some of the tree planting that the students are doing. I think if you've followed some of the Facebook posts that I've done, you know that, as Mr. Hilton pointed out, that's going on right now. I will tell you that it was rainy. The kids all jumped in, did their part. I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to rain and cold weather, so I didn't stay very long enough to get a couple pictures and say I was there. I attended the community leadership meeting earlier this month, and the Pottstown Communities of Faith meetings, where a lot of things that are going on in the community are discussed. But more important, additionally, it gives us the opportunity to talk to, engage with the community about what's going on in the Pottstown School District. And I am a firm believer that if we simply tell our story, it will become evident to people about what a quality school district this is, with outstanding educators, outstanding students, and a place where we can all easily say, proud to be from Pottstown.
Thank you. Mr. Hilton?
Nothing.
I would just be remiss if I didn't say today is actually Child Grief Awareness Day, so I have to mention that and just a shout out or thought of any kid who's dealing with some of that. Thank you.
Mr. Klein?
Nothing, thank you.
Ms. Johnson?
I know our coaches and students left, but I just wanted to say thank you to them for coming out, and say how powerful it is, certainly to hear multiple people speak, but also bring people with them to show their support, even though not everybody's there.
Mr. Ricky?
Thank you, Madam President. I have 3 items that I'd like to share with board members. First of all, you, and I know Mrs. Bearden, you especially would have been very proud of our Pottstown High School staff and students. Yesterday, I attended a financial reality fair, And it was very well done. It was well received by students, and you might have seen some pictures online. But I didn't really understand. At first, it just looked like vendors and you get to see cool stuff, but that's not what it is at all. You actually play the game of life, and you have to come up with a budget, and you go around and decide if you want a Corvette or if you want I don't know, a Honda or, whatever kind of car, and decide what kind of place you're gonna live in, and of course, get yourself a job. And there's some cool things to make it a fun game. But then at the end, you have to meet with a financial advisor. And that financial advisor will say, hey, nice Corvette, but you're gonna starve because you've got $3 left. So you need to go back into the game and readjust yourself. And both of the counselors came up to me and said, Mr. Rodriguez, we are so proud of our students. Many of them are coming back and saying, it doesn't make any sense for me to spend $50,000 at a 4-year school when I can go to Montco for 2 years and then transfer. And they said in the past 4 or 5 years, this year, they've heard that from more students than ever before. So I wanted to make sure to let everybody know that the word is getting out there. Number 2, ESL awards. For the first time, I was able to congratulate our students for making excellent growth in reading, writing, speaking, and listening, and it was very well received. I do the last bunch tomorrow afternoon. And finally, we had conferences. We did them differently this year as per our calendar. I'm very pleased to inform the board that we had excellent attendance. We had 402 virtual or phone parent conferences. We had 1,258 in-person conferences for a total of 1,925 parent conferences out of 3,458 kids. Or 3,358, sorry. That's pretty good. Thank you, Madam President.
Excellent. Thank you. I would like to first wish the veterans a post-happy Veterans Day. I did attend the Veterans Leadership Network Conference and actually attended with a veteran today, our Coatesville Veterans Hospital. So sometimes our veterans didn't just serve, but their families served, and we sometimes forget just how much the families went through along with the veterans. Some were drafted, some lost entire children, but they are to be celebrated and remembered. And so I just wanted to mention that. And then the financial piece, of course, that was one of my wish list items for our students to be able to graduate with more financial literacy. I think that we celebrate the obvious, right? We love to hear our students saying they want to go to 4-year school. We love to hear them say they're going to master's and PhD programs. We love to hear them say that they want to do tech. But we don't much celebrate students who want to go out into the workforce and become workers and start from the ground up and just live happily and be successful in raising their own students, their own family. And so that should be celebrated. And the way that we are able to best equip them is to ensure that they have the best stance with financial literacy. That is a major component, and we know now that it's becoming a requirement for school districts. But this has certainly been a piece that we as a district and that I have mentioned for a long time. So I'm so glad that I did see those photos and happy that our students are receiving it and knowing first thing you do when you start a good job or any job is not to invest your money in that brand new car and then have nothing to show for it at the end. You will get there with that brand new car. Just give yourself time for it, right? So I'm glad about that. Thank you. And that said, I'm appreciative for the parents and the students, the teachers who are participating in the events that our district is hosting, and glad that our parents are able to come out and meet with the teachers and ask the questions and get the information and advocate for their children every day, but especially during the parent-teacher conference. And I know we had previous years where the attendance was low. So it's good to see that they're coming out and getting more involved. it's kind of hard sometimes with, work schedules, so glad to hear that. Did anyone have anything else that they would like to share? No? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, motion adjourned.